Hi everyone, welcome to the VPC Service Control Part 5. In this video, we will talk about scope policies. So as we have created policies in my previous videos that are like all the organization level policy, but basically scoped policies are basically to specific folders or projects alongside an access policy that we can apply with to the entire organization. So whenever we create a scope policy, we have to choose like which folder or project we want to include in that. And we can use scope policy basically for like VP service control parameters and access level. And it can be managed by like administrator when we create the policy. So, and as of now, what is this? Organization can have only one access policy at the organization level. So we have created that policy, and when we try to create another policy at the organization level, it will give error. And also we can apply organization access policy to any folder and project in our like organization. So as we have already seen all these things, like when we created a organization policy, we can apply it to any folder or project which we have already there. But if you want to create a specific policy for a folder or project, then this concept of scope policy come. And there's something we have to make sure that whenever we create a scope policy, but if there is no organization level policy already exists in your environment or in your organization, that scope policy which we have created at a folder project level will not operate. Even you have done all the things like you have included that this service will not work in the scope policy, like you have a project and you want that cloud storage API or BigQuery API cannot be accessible from the outside or the internet. But even if you don't have a organization level policy that time, so that policy will not come into the effect and it will be no benefit all. So make sure you have an organization level policy. After that you can create a scope policy. And this is the hierarchy of scope policy. So this is our like organization example.com. In that we have multiple folders. So you can create at the organization level, which is known as organization policy. But if you want to create for folder or project level, so you can include any one of that. So if I include this engineering folder, so it will the policy will be effective on all the projects inside that. I can include sales folder, human resource folder. Even I can choose a specific like this project also inside the engineering folder. You have the option like we at what level you want to create this policy. So the service parameter in a scoped policy can only restrict resources that exist in the scope of that policy. Scope policy for your engineering folder, human resource folder, so it can be like scoped for that only. You cannot make like if you have chosen a engineering folder and you cannot protect your human resource from there. You have to create a different scope policy for that. And access level in a scope policy are only visible within the scope of the policy. Like if you create an access level in the policy scope to engineering folder, that only service parameter and access level in the engineering folder can use it. So I think you already remember access levels. So with the help of access level, we can provide access based on some attributes. So if you have created an access level for the engineering folder, then you can use that access level only in the engineering folder. It will not be visible in human resource or sales folder. Same for the project. If you have created a access level for specific project, suppose example prod, so it will not be available in the example dev. So you have to make sure what the you are using the access level. And a policy can contain only one scope such as a folder, but we can create a policy for each level. So like as I've already told, that policy can only contain a single scope, whether you can go for organization or folder or like project. But if you want, you can create at any level of the organization. Your project can be member of only one parameter. So it means that your project can be a member. Like you have a suppose this is your project. You can only add it only at one level. So suppose if you have added this project at that organization policy, so this cannot be added again in that in your second policy parameter. So basically, when you create a policy, after that we have to create a service parameter in which we have to combine all the rules. So if you have added this any project in anywhere in the hierarchy, suppose in example.com or the engineering folder, then you cannot use that project again in a different service parameter. I will show you all these things. It is like difficult to understand from this presentation, but I will cover all these examples what I'm talking about so that you can understand better. So let's basically go to demo and start testing. So I'm in my console. This is my organization level as of now I am. So let's click on create a policy. So this is the scope policy which we are creating. So first of all, we have to provide a title. So let's give him a second project policy. After that, we have to add a project, or you have the option to add a folder also. So first try with that project. So let's go and let's select my second project and make it done. So as I've told you, if you add a project or folder, if you choose these two options, so it will become a scope policy. And if you don't choose any option, it will become a organization policy. So even you want to add principles, like you want someone to, or one to access this or manage this policy, you can provide him the access also. So let's me click on create access policy. So our policy has been created. We can see this is our policy name. So now let's create one more policy. Let's call it at a folder level. So let's give a test folder, uh, test folder policy, and here we will add a folder. And this is my test folder in which there is one project. First project is there, and just click on create access policy. Also, even you can add a project or a folder. You cannot add both of them. Now our two policies has been created. Now what we can do, we can choose any policy for which we want to create a parameter. Suppose I want to create a parameter for my test folder policy. I can just choose from that drop down menu. After that, we have to just click on new parameter. This is the service parameter which I'm talking about. So if we click on new parameter, and this is the service parameter in which we have to fill all the details. So like we can provide secure first project. So we can provide this resource to protect. So we can add resources. So basically what will happen when you click on this, it will show all the projects like first project and second project. But the main issue is that if I go to here, my on click on all, so only if I open this, so only my first project is inside this test folder, nothing else. So it will give you the options. So if you click on add resources, it will give you the option to select the second project also. If you click on add second project and let's click add all services, and if you try to create this parameter, it will give an error because this is not a part of the policy. So it can giving like invalid resource for service parameter, and this project is not the member of the parent. So parent is our folder and it is not the member of it, so we cannot choose this. So it will give you option, but if you try to choose that, it will not work. So basically just remove this. Let's add our first project only because that is the part of our folder, and we'll click on add resources. After that, uh, we can remove these all services or add a specific service only. So I will go with storage only. So let's make it cloud storage API, which I want to protect, and make it all services, and I will just click on create parameter. So basically I am just as of now I want to just like protect my cloud storage bucket in the first project. So this has been created my first parameter. In this we can see, and we have just saved our cloud storage API. Now so if we go back to our console, and this is my first project, and even if I refresh this page, I will see that this policies or this service parameter is not working at. So I can see it is still not working. My that specific policy is not came into the effect. Even if I created make it correctly, I have just blocked cloud storage API, and we have already secured my first project. Even I have secured my first project. This is my first project, but it's still not. I'm able to access the bucket. It is happening because this is because of this point, because we don't have any organization level policy as of now. Until we create that, the organization level policy, stored policy will not work. So let's go back and let's create a organization level policy so that our scope policy can come into the effect. To create it, just click on manage policies and let's click on create, and we can provide it any name. Let's call it org policy, and after that we don't have to select any project or folder. Even if we select any of these, it will become a scope policy. So just click on create access policy. Now we have created a organization level policy, so our scope policy can work. So let's wait a minute, and after that we will try again. So now let's try again and just refresh this page. So we can see now it has stopped working. My policy is now working fine, and cloud storage is request is not getting fulfilled. So we can make sure now, just make sure that our code policy is in effect, and this is working fine. There's no need to create any parameter for this organization policy. You can just leave it default also. And even now, what is the option? So let's go back to our access context manager. I have covered this in last part. So let's switch to organization scope. So there's something which we need to make sure. So let's create an access level first of all. So let's make it my new level, anything, and I will go with just geographic locations. I will choose anything, like I will go with Italy and hit save. So what will happen if you create an access level at the organization level? It will not show in your scope policy. So if I go back and move to my test folder policy once again, and if even if I try to go into my access levels and try to see, it will not reflect because this is created at the organization level. So if you want to create access level, you have to move to your project or folder. So let's click on edit parameter and let's go to access levels, and we can see there is no item has been displayed. So what we can do, we can just go back or move to our folder, and inside that we will create a one more access level, and we will create, let give it a name, folder level, and we will just make it any geographic location. Let's select Myanmar and make it save, and let's go back to our parameter and just refresh this page so that it makes sure that these access levels are at the specific level only, and the level this which I have created will not reflect in my second project policy. So this is what we may have to make sure. So let's go back to access level. We can see that this is the folder level, which is now we can see. Now let's cancel this and let's go to our second project one, and let's see whether this access level, these two access level, which is in an organization level and another one is at folder level, is like showing in our policy or not. So let's go to new parameter and we can directly go to accessible, and we can see no item to display. So if we want access level, we have to create at the project level. So you have to make sure this specific thing in while creating the scope policies. So these are the main things which we have to make sure while creating scope policy. One more thing I want to cover, like if you have added uh, any project or anything in a policy, it cannot be and added in the parameter once again. So I'm in the organization level policy. So let's go. So this point I'm talking about. So a project can be a member of only one like service parameter across all the policies. So let's give it name secure second project, and resources to protect, like add resources, and I will add, let me add both first project and first, like let me add my first project first. It is already being secured by my folder. So let's see whether it works or not as per that documentation. So let add it cloud storage, and an access level it will show of my new level which I have created at the organization level, and let's click on create parameter. Whether it works or not, let's see. So we can see parameter create field because it is saying this project, that is my project or its children, the resource or its children cannot be added to the organization policy, already contains resource. So this policy has already contained the specific resource, that is my first project. So you cannot add a same project into multiple service parameter. So that this point means a project can be member of only one service parameter across all the policies. So what we can do, if you want to do, you just remove this and basically just add the second project. So just add this and it will work. It will create this policy. Now if you go to our second project and try to create policy once again, it will give the same error because the second project is already being used in organization level policy. So these are the things which we have to make sure, and rest all the points which we have covered. They cover, like policy can contain only one scope such as folder, but you can create a policy for each level of the organization. Already seen. So like we have a scope like folder, but we can create policy for each level. So let's go back and let's create a policy for one more policy. This is for my first project. So the our project in test folder, there is already a first project already there. Let's try to create a one more policy, and this we will only cover first project. So let's call it first project, and this first project is also already a part of folder. Let's see whether it works or not. So let's click on done and click. Let's click create access policy. Created. It can be created, but the main thing is that this project which I have chosen can only be part of single parameter, service parameter. So it is already a part of test folder parameter, so which we have created previously. So here test folder policy, it is a part of my first project is already a part of test folder policy service parameter. So now I cannot use this project anywhere. Policy must be there, but we cannot use it again. As per that, we have already seen this, like this project can be member of, and we have already seen access level we have covered, like access level will be shown in the single level. So let's go to our first project and see whether the test this one test folder access level will reflect or not. What to think, whether it will reflect or not. So let's click on new parameter, and let's basically go to access levels, and let's see it is not reflect. That access level are only for the folder level. If you want to see a access level, we have to create it at the organize this project level. And the final thing I want to show you, as per this the documentation which we are following, that organization can have only one access policy at the organization level. So let's try to create one more policy at the organization level, and just click on create, and let's provide it my second org policy, and we don't have to click any of these, otherwise it will become scope policy. Just click on create access policy, and we can see failed to create the access policy already created with the organization. So these are the main things which we have to make sure while working with scope policy, and these are the some examples which you have to make sure, or this make this example that for like diagram, and nothing much in this, and all the basic things we have already covered. And like the previous parts, you can check it out. This one video is only basically on that scope policy, how it works and what are that options we have. And then the next part I will cover that shared VPC, so how we can use VPC service control with shared VPC, and I always also will try to cover parameter bridge, which is still pending. And like if we go to edit parameter, there is option of parameter bridge also. So this one, how we can use this parameter bridge, I will cover this option also. And if you have any questions or any suggestions, just comment it down. I will try to help you. Thank you very much.